I never ever made it, and I skated for so many years, but my clothes did, and that's my parting statement.
And your clothes did in a big way. I'm Brian Boitano, and welcome to another episode of Milan Magic. I am geeking out sitting here with my friend, fashion icon, legend, designer, but more importantly, figure skater Vera Wang. Oh my God, thank you so much. We've been just geeking out before the cameras are rolling, but I want to talk about before we get into fashion, I want to talk about your skating. We've been just reminiscing about that. First of all, she and I were just reeling about reliving our 2002 experience because she had designed the costume for Michelle Kwan, and I
worked with Michelle 6 years.
Yeah. And we were sitting in the audience next to each other, so nervous.
In Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was like
I dragged my children to that Olympics too.
Yeah.
And they were all rooting for Michelle. I still remember. That night was crazy because you were right behind me, literally.
And we were so nervous. I mean, I was shaking. And we sort of had a feeling, we were like feeling that she wasn't feeling her best. And so.
You never know. She left a great performance out in the practice. So I was with her.
Yeah.
And I came to her practice, and she landed the triple flip, triple toe at that time. And then that night, I've never really seen Michelle fall on her knees. And it was just truly, truly shocking.
Yeah.
And I think for her, because we were so close as friends, she couldn't even process it for about 7 months. And then she called me one night in New York and just completely let loose. Yeah. And I think it was really her second Olympics where she should have won, in essence, really, I hate to say. Yeah. She was the favorite. And that's always been heartbreaking for me. I never wanted to dress another skater after that.
Really?
I really didn't. I said, that's it. I'm done at Nancy Kerrigan.
Yes.
With the Tanya Harding.
Yeah.
And that overtook everything else. And I think that's when I really was noticed for my skating costumes. But I did not really want to do skating. I didn't feel qualified because I know how difficult the movement is, and the jumping and the range of motion from a sit spin to a camel to whatever. And Mary Scott Bold, who was her coach, and Evie, convinced me to do it. And then that whole story of Nancy and Tanya became folklore.
Yeah. And is it difficult as a designer? I know we wanted to talk about skating. We're getting into fashion, but that's okay. We'll just go talk about skating later. But is it difficult the restrictions of what a skater needs for a costume, is it hard to design around that?
It's really impossible, particularly because I'm not a skating designer. My whole life and career is not based on finding new ways to create visuals for, skaters who are so high profile. And I think for me, the first time I decided to use this illusion, and it's a real story. It was invented by a Swiss house called Jakob Schleffer. And they're the only ones in the world that could create illusions, stretch illusion, which we now think of as really nothing. But in that era, I've been working with them in my fashion. And I thought, God, wouldn't it be great to do illusion that stretches so a skater can actually move? And I used on Nancy's white dress. And the whole time I was worried that if she pulled too hard for a jump or pulled in for a spin, that the whole thing would rip from the sleeve and ruin her championship. Because when you have wardrobe malfunctions for skating, it's not exactly Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl. Yeah. There's so much more implications other than press. And that responsibility frightened me. It frightens me to this day, the responsibility. Yeah. Particularly for men. Because, the men's pants had to be held underneath the skate. And it's not our forte, so it would quadruple stitch every costume ever made for Evan or Nathan.
Yeah, Evan Lysacek, who you designed for, which was beautiful, the swan costume. And then you did a couple for Nathan. So we saw a couple versions of his long program.
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years, but two versions of his his Rocket Man costume, right?
Well, here's another problem. He decided in July or June that he was going to have a different program. I think he tried it out at Nationals. My memory may fail me.
The classical piece.
And a certain judge felt it wasn't the right program to win Olympics. So he went back to Rocket Man. So suddenly my team is trying to figure out how to turn it around to Rocket Man. and he'd already skated in Worlds the year before. So we did come up with that really quickly. And I think when they change their minds about costumes, Evan also had that problem. He came in wanting to do Malagueña.
Yeah.
So we spent the summer researching Spanish bullfighting, that matador, the obvious in order to create the non-obvious. And then he switched to Scheherazade. So that's kind of a geographical, cultural, visual shift.
Yeah.
And we're not given a lot of time to do it in. And that's part of the problem because you have Grand Prix, which starts in September. So you're given 3 weeks.
I mean, did Nathan think of wearing the past Rocket Man costume instead of, or did he want to have a new one, a new look, fresh look for the Olympics?
He really wanted a new look. The first 3 years I dressed him, I thought it was very effective. He was uncomfortable. He didn't want to tell me. Because it was one piece, which you did wear, obviously, in all of, we used to call them monkey suits back in the day with Dick Button and everything. But he said, well, Vera, I really love the bottom half of the costumes you make, but I don't want one piece for the quads.
I could see that. He always wore an untucked shirt that was loose and like...
Here's a bad story. So I made all these costumes for him, and then he said, I want the pants, but I just want a T-shirt. And I fit him so beautifully because he wasn't really into fitting clothes.
Yeah.
Every skater's different.
Yeah.
Evan was, he was not. And he really just said, send it to me, I'll try it on. His mother sews. Yeah. And I remember that on a camel spin, you could see his midriff. And I think the USFSA blamed me for that because it was a two-piece and he wanted the shirt loose. And so you could really see that. And I think to this day, I don't really know. I haven't asked him, did he do that on purpose? But he's just cropped enough that when he skated, like particularly a camel spin, you could just see it. You could see.
I sort of like that, though. I mean,
I thought it was cool, but it wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
But I was sort of blamed.
Well, you know, the other thing too that's interesting is every skater has a different look. Like, I know that Michelle Kwan never liked sleeves. Right?
And not a high neck because she felt like she was choking.
Yeah, she wants to be free.
She wanted a bathing suit and not a lot of skirt because she felt the torque of a big skirt would get in the way of her jumps. So if you look at the costumes I did for her, they're always quite sleek and hardly any skirt, just, some chiffon.
Yeah.
And then I look at the girls that skate in pairs and in singles and they have skirts down to here and they're trying to land jumps and throws. And I would think it would get in the way, myself. Yeah. But evidently, it's a new style that I've never done.
Well, while we're on the subject of skirts, Madison Chalk redesigned her. I mean, that whole thing of doing the new skirt because it was a little heavy, it got in the way, and that's hard.
From the original, from Nationals, I remember.
She was using it as a cape in her program, right?
And it was longer, and I sort of didn't say it to her, but I said to Tina Lundgren to say to her that I felt it was a bit too long for her, to her skate, and just to shorten the center back a little bit. And then she did all black. The all black version was so divine. Was it for the Grand Prix, I think?
Yeah, it was, and with the red inside. Yeah.
And then this time she really won the dégradé from black to red, which I thought was the perfect choice for the drama you really need for Olympics.
Does she, I mean, do you mentor her or she must want to pick your, oh my gosh,
I did Madison Evans' wedding.
My God, that's so
and
amazing.
That was really a lot of fun and we've sort of been friends ever since. But I really love her because she's so thoughtful and artistic and careful. When you see their programs and what they wear, it's like you, Brian. What is the most memorable men's outfit that I've ever seen in skating that really reminded me in my consciousness was you at Olympics.
Wow.
And that military look and the way the pants fit and where the jacket came to.
Wow.
And the fact that you could skate in it and perform at that level, but it so matched the music choice and the choreography. And sometimes an Olympic winner does not put out their best performance. The pressure's so big. But in your case, I always remember that I just thought you couldn't have skated better. And that's it's not only fortuitous, because skating is difficult and you never know. there's some other factor we can never predict.
Yeah.
But you were so well prepared. And that's how I feel about Madison and Evan.
Yeah, they were so well prepared.
They're
They
so
were
well
spot on.
prepared for every program, every piece of choreography, even the claps. You know,
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
so much Spanish done or flamenco, but what they brought to it was their own interpretation rather than something more literal.
And sophistication and maturity and
And eye contact.
understated. They are by far the most sophisticated ice dance team, and actually should have won the gold medal. So
I agree.
yeah,
And I have to say that to know them is to really respect
absolutely.
them so much, because they are such wonderful people and they have such great sportsmanship, and they're just wonderful, wonderful representation of young generation skaters and athletes
Yeah.
and human beings.
Yeah, amazing. We absolutely love them.
Big fans.
And talking about them redoing it, and you
Yes.
talked about my costume. I wore a costume in the national championships just 3 weeks before the Olympics that was so heavy. I had epaulets that were dangly, and
Yes.
the fabric was so heavy. I had to go back to the drawing board and remake this costume that was lighter, stretchier, with more freedom, and that made such a difference to me. So everybody goes through that, right?
The weight issue in
Yeah.
costumes is very important. Also, Nathan changed. He wanted a black tuxedo when he won in Beijing. The short was a black tuxedo, but he didn't want it to be one piece. He wanted to be two separate pieces. So I'm tailoring Lycra. And if you're a fashion designer, usually you need construction for tailoring. And I made him a soft tuxedo.
Yeah.
And he didn't want anything else on it. He wanted it all black, and it was very quiet, but he loved it. And in the end, I really am just a translator in a way as a designer for skaters or for celebrity on the red carpet. I have to really intuit what they want and help execute for them. It's not about me, it's about them. And in skating, for someone to lose an Olympics because of my costume is my worst nightmare.
Yeah. Okay, since you brought up Lycra, I want
Yes.
to talk about, you and I have lived in the world for many years in skating, so we have seen a lot of changes. Tell the audience what it was like, fabrics back in the day
Back
when
in the
we
old
were
days?
young, and what
Not we.
well, okay,
When
there's
I
a little
was
bit,
young.
but but still, there
Not
was
we.
still,
When I was young.
yeah.
There was no stretch in anything. Fabrics had not evolved where they could take the actual weaving machine and weave in a certain amount of Lycra. For fashion today, we can weave in 20% Lycra, we can weave in metal as a designer. And in those days, that wasn't possible.
What kind
So,
of things were there?
Wool,
Wool.
good old wool.
Yeah.
Peggy Fleming,
Yeah, I mean, iconic.
Chartreuse,
Yeah.
Grenoble. That's the moment that I really saw skating as an art form with Peggy, even though I was competing the same years as her. But that chartreuse dress stood out in my mind, and I brought it back for Nancy.
Nancy Kerrigan's
on
short
purpose.
program, right?
Yep.
That was so beautiful. But was it just the color of the dress or the design of the dress? What caught your eye?
Peggy was so divine.
I
And
mean,
there's
yeah.
something I long for a little bit in the minimalism.
Yeah.
There was that era, even the monkey suits for you
Yeah.
men. And I have to say there's something so, not heroic, but dignified. And something about, the one piece and the collar and the long sleeve like Patrick Perra wore, Andre Nepola, or Sergei Cheperukin, all the skaters I knew of my era. And they just always look so elegant. And part of me misses that a little bit. Not a lot of sequin, not a lot of pizzazz. There's something so pure to see the line and the jumps and the movement. But I have to say, as skating became more telegenic, obviously with Dick Button and Candid Productions and producing skating competitions, things had to evolve just from an interest point of view, I think, for the audience.
Well, I just can't even imagine like Hayes and David Jenkins.
I
and
remember all
wearing
of them.
wool tuxedos with a bow tie. I mean, how did they do anything in that?
I don't know, but look at Dick Button.
Yeah.
He was landing triples.
I know. I guess it's all what you get used to.
I think weight is a very major issue for every skater I've ever dressed.
Yeah, I think.
I really, men and women.
Yeah,
both.
and stretch.
And stretch.
Yeah.
And so there is such a thing as two-way stretch. And it goes, or one way.
Yeah.
One way's lethal, because which way do you use it? For skaters, you're going this way movement, but you're also going this way movement. And so you have one way, which way are you going?
It's like too
Is
many
it- are you-
decisions
yeah,
now.
Are you like fencing them at the rib
Yeah.
cage so they can't breathe? But then it became every way stretch, which is a different thing. Every way stretch in Lycra means you can move in any direction.
Which is great.
Which is what nowadays
I
is
mean,
what
it's
people
so
use.
everything's so comfortable these days.
Yes.
It's just everything.
It was not in my era. I wore wool.
Yeah, and my
thick
era, I wore
wool.
polyester and Kiana.
And Kiana, that's right, Kiana. By DuPont or no, Kiana. I just know
Oh,
that
and then it was viscose, right?
Yes,
That
viscose
that
was
was really
next.
comfortable, though.
Brian's really a frustrated fashion designer.
No, I know
I've
nothing
always
about
known that
fashion.
about you.
I know nothing about
No, it's
fashion.
the way you presented yourself always.
Oh,
It was
thanks.
just perfection.
Thank
It
you.
really was. And that
Thanks.
was the first male skater that I noticed that really changed for me the visuals on the ice with the choreography and obviously the music. And then Peggy was certainly the Chartreuse,
Yeah.
Grenoble, and I mean, it was of a purity and her delicacy and her beauty
Yeah.
and her strength, which is what I think the Paris had last night.
Oh yeah, amazing.
You can be thin and very strong.
Who was the first skater who really brought glamorous fashion into skating dresses?
Well, I think everybody talks about Sonia Henning. I was not alive for
Wow.
that. That I was
Thanks
not
for
alive
clarifying,
for. But Sonia cut her skirt short.
Oh,
And that's very, even you didn't know that,
no.
skating lore.
I didn't know that.
She
To
just-
show her legs a little?
Yeah, to show her legs and just said, I'm not dealing with this long skirt.
Yeah.
And now many skaters are wearing long skirts
Yeah.
again, which is kind of how the circle goes full round. But no, she was the first skater to wear a short skirt. I wouldn't call it short,
Yeah. Shorter.
shorter.
But I remember when I was young, Linda Fradiani
Of course.
being the first designed
Yes.
dress.
And also Cyrilie Bonali.
Oh yeah.
When I dressed Nancy, Christian Lacroix did Cyrilie Bonali's dress because he was a French designer for the French champion. And I was an American designer for the American champion. So
Yeah.
we went very nationalistic.
Did you ever have a skater that you wanted, like that you think would be like the perfect
Yes.
person to dress?
I did.
Who's that?
My Mao, I call her.
Oh,
Mao
Mao
Asada.
Asada.
I always loved her skating.
Japanese
I always
champion.
wanted to dress her. I loved her back. Whatever she landed, whatever she did, the back was so straight. And I think that makes her a very beautiful line for a designer. And she actually called me to do her dress, and I couldn't do it because I was advised that I was an American designer and I should not dress a Japanese champion.
Wow.
But that was somebody, that's why I call her my Mao. It's a secret code with my friends and I, my skating friends now. I call her my Mao because I never got to dress her. And I loved her Tosca.
Yeah.
To me, that was one of the great skating performances
She was,
at Olympics.
She was amazing. What do you think the worst era in fashion was? I have my own opinion, but yeah,
skating fashion?
Yeah, of course, we're talking skating.
Do I dare say that? Am I going to get in trouble with
No,
everybody?
I'll tell you mine. I'll tell you mine if you.
Okay, I didn't really love, and I love her,
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy Yamaguchi, that era,
Oh,
a bit Linda Fradiani. Things were sort of very frilly. There was a lot of sequin, a lot of more skirt.
Right.
Everything was more of everything.
Bugle beads.
Tara too. I mean, they were all part of that skating history at that point. And so when I dressed Nancy, I went the complete opposite
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I think in 2000,
And I
Torino.
actually did Chrissy's wedding too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So,
I remember that. I was there.
I didn't dress her for the Olympics, but I dressed her for her wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So in Hawaii.
I think Turin Olympics ice dance, because it went in this real direction of ballroom dancing.
Yes.
And it sort of had this sort of low backs on the women. And I
Yes.
just was like, well, we're ice dancing. We're not ballroom.
Right.
You know, and I just thought the choreography, it was like the low point of, fashion and choreography for ice dance, even though we
Yes.
had fantastic skaters like Tanith Belbin
Oh,
and Ben Augusto. I mean, that on the
incredible.
side, but that as a
Incredible.
rule, yeah.
Tanith and Ben,
That
really.
was like the
But I have to say, I've always thought of you as very fashion. I really have. We've never
so
talked
funny.
about it all these years,
Yeah.
but I've always thought of it because it made such an impression on me. I mean, it was just that same kind of perfectionism, not only in the performance, the athleticism, but the creative.
Well, I think also, it's because I consider myself to not know anything about fashion, but I probably do know something about fashion of skating, or we wouldn't be able to have this conversation, right?
Right.
But I had a lot of people surrounding me that were really good.
You did.
Sandra Bezic had great taste,
Oh,
too,
whom I
right?
love
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah, so that was
Talk
helpful.
about, well, I remember she was still competing.
Yeah.
And she was really one of the most sensual girls I ever knew, on ice and off. She was one of those incredibly talented. She was like free. There was a ballet dancer I compare her to for the New York City Ballet named Suzanne Farrell.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And she was also Balanchine's muse.
Yeah.
And I had met her, and she's someone that reminded me of Suzanne Farrell, you know, when she was competing with her brother. And she just had that kind of natural sexuality,
Yeah, she did. I
sensuality.
remember seeing
It was
videos.
just natural.
Yeah.
And that can't be taught.
Do you have dreams about skating? And if so, what are you wearing?
I don't have dreams of performing freestyle. I have dreams of drawing figures, and they're not the figures I want to skate when we used to do figures. And I still have occasional nightmares of that, where it's like left forward, left parallel loop.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things they still come back. And I remember I used to, maybe too personal and too much info, but I used to, before championships, I would always, even sectionals, subsectionals, I would really feel my feet sweating in my bed.
Wow, yeah.
And I'm not someone that's, you know, particularly sweaty.
Yeah.
And I have to say it was that kind of anxiety that
was so anxiety.
so enormous that I don't even know how the mind can process or the body process.
Yeah.
And then we saw Elia.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect example of just what can go on in your head.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it can overpower everything.
Explain to the audience that don't know what compulsory figures are, what we had
No,
to go
you're
through.
going to
Okay.
explain it.
All right, so these are compulsory figures. You've heard figure eights, and they're circles that we had to trace over and over again with turns on each end. And we were judged on these, and it was the most stressful time of a competitor's career. There were 9. It was completely
There were
silent.
rockers. There was everything we could
rockers,
do.
counters, all different things. And there would be a panel of 9 judges that would stand there, not smiling, and you
On
would
the
go-
ice,
you'd
right
go
around you,
on-
and watch you
Yeah.
tracing figures
Yeah.
on a blade this thin.
Yeah.
And you had to create these beautiful shapes on the ice.
circles, yeah.
Yes, circles, everything loops.
From
everything
scratch,
counters.
they would put you on a clean sheet of ice, and you did.
Clean.
You had to do
And they
3
could see
perfect
every,
circles. Yeah.
and you have to go on tiptoe to the center to where you would start
Yeah,
your figures.
yeah.
And I did that twice. I did full preliminary through 8.
Yeah.
And then I did it again for the ISU. So
That's
I went through
amazing.
it twice.
Yeah, I
and I
never
have
did
gold
that
medals
either.
from both, because you get a gold medal for that.
Do you remember? I remember my foot trembling.
Oh,
so much
your
that I'm
heart's
like,
beating
oh,
like
yeah.
this.
It's like you can't control your adrenaline, and you're just trying to relax so much.
You're in a
and-
court of law almost.
Yeah.
You feel like you're a felon, and you're standing there as punishment. And I have to
Representing
say,
yourself.
representing yourself, and then everybody else is watching. All your competitors are watching
Yeah.
what you trace.
Yeah.
And I think they took it away because it wasn't telegenic.
It wasn't.
But I miss it.
I do too.
think it brought another level of what we call skating. Figure skating was based on figures on ice that we traced. It was not just free skates.
And edge quality.
And edge quality.
Right. It taught us.
And the control of hip
Yep.
to leg
Oh, yeah.
helps you with jumps. I do believe it gives you more control in the center of your body, the core, to be able to trace on one single edge of a blade.
And also a great warm up, because we would do this
Great
before we
warm-up.
free skated, right?
Yes.
And
I
so,
didn't
yeah.
realize you did figures.
Oh gosh, I was the last Olympics with figures.
But you didn't have
involved.
short programs.
I did have short
You had
programs.
all of it.
Yeah. Oh, I had all of it. I had all.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was super stress for like three days of competition. Super stress.
So I just want to say one thing to camera. I don't think people understand figure skating. Long ago, I wanted to make a film about it because I've made little films for fashion and my fashion shows and other things. And I really wanted people to understand, because our job as skaters is to present these moves in the most easy, most effortless, most beautiful, most complete way. And people have no idea how difficult it really is. and they don't understand. And when they ask me, I say, have you ever tried to just stand on the ice? Just stand there in skates, and can you hold your balance? So what skaters do is nearly inhuman. And today with the quads, we never ever thought that could ever happen. We used to fool around in my era. We did doubles to try triples, jokingly. And we just, from a standstill, try to rotate more. But to really see, in your era, just a lot of triples, all triples. And now with quads. And to still have to maintain that same level of performance. Skating is the only sport in the world where you have to present a costume and a look and music. You have to be not only an actor or an actress, you have to be an athlete, but you also have to be an artist. And there's no other sport, even gymnastics doesn't come close. And I think someone should do that and make a real film about skating, whether it's a documentary form or whether it's obviously scripted, but not a skating story movie, a real story about what it's like, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, artistically. I think that would really explain and bring a new audience to skating, because I don't think people really understand, Brian, except for Olympics.
Yeah.
I really don't. And that's my sadness as a lover of skating. And I think to really understand it, people would see how really athletic and challenging it is.
Yeah, that was really well said, by the way. And I also want to add, I always try to explain skating. Imagine a the reason skating's so hard is because you need stamina and strength, and it's on demand. And I was actually, Tom Brady was in the event yesterday.
Oh, he's here, I know.
Yeah, and so I was talking to him, and he's like, I have, like in the Super Bowl, I have a team to back me up. I can rely on them if I'm having a bad time. And I said, no, figure skating is on demand. You have this amount of time that you have to do your thing. And it's a 4-minute sprint. Imagine going as hard out as you can for 4 minutes. In the meantime, you're having to jump, power moves, jump, spin, getting dizzy, and holding your breath because you hold your breath during spins. Footwork sequences, you were just going and doing this constantly for 4 minutes. And if you feel good, you feel good. And if you feel bad, it just snowballs, and you have to have all these mind games happening, which we saw with Ilya the other night. So imagine all of that.
Heartbroken. I don't think I will ever get over it.
It was
went
surreal.
into shock. My daughter and I were together with Madison Evan.
Yeah.
4 of us were watching the other night. And we literally this close, we were going crazy. Because after the first miss, which I think was supposed to be a quad axe, I think he was undecided whether he was going to play it safe or do the quad. I think till the moment he started the music, he wasn't sure.
Wow.
And I think that's what happened.
That's interesting. Cause
I think there was this tug of war.
Yeah.
The other guys skated great, all of them, to their best. And I think he was concerned.
That's interesting. And I mean, I know as a competitor, I always had to have a plan.
Of course.
And then it never changed, because then I would miss things. But even if it's a hard plan, you still stick with the hard plan, what you had always done. Yeah, I thought that
I'm going to give a little thing which you can't publish, but I'm going to just give it to us in a side, Nathan. So Nathan and I had breakfast together about, I think, 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And, I brought my daughter to the Olympics. This was a trip we planned for 6 months. And she never met Nathan. She knew Evan, she knew Nancy, she knew Michelle very, very well, because Michelle's sister worked for me for 2 years, Karen. And so I introduced her to Nathan. And he said something so incredible. He said, no one could ever predict what quads I'd be doing and when in the program I would be doing it, because I would always change my mind out there. And Johnny and Tara would say it. And he said, Vera, I knew from the beginning exactly what I was going to do.
Wow.
How's that for preparation?
That is amazing.
I never let on, because you give the list of jumps in the order, and they watch all the practices. He said, I knew exactly, based on the other skaters, based on what I saw before. He said, I just said, I don't know, but he knew.
But you know what?
Isn't that wild?
It's wild.
It gave me chills.
Yeah, no, it's wild. But the other thing, too, about Nathan Chen is if he wanted to change it up, he could have.
He could have.
Absolutely.
But he did not.
But most skaters, myself, Scott Hamilton, we could never do that.
Even little old Vera Wang that never made it. So I can say even me couldn't. I said the worst thing about Paris, I explained to my daughter also, is that you can't change your mind with your partner.
Yeah.
You can't suddenly say, let's not do the split twist, or let's not do the throw axle. Let's just let that go, because we've already fallen twice. There's no way you can change when you're a couple.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's no way you can communicate. And you know with the music cuts where you are in the program, what lies ahead,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And I remember my first nationals, I went out there and I never seen anything like that in a rink like that. And in the old days, the rinks were under the bleachers, so you'd walk through onto the ice. So it's like a gladiator in a weird way.
Yeah.
You come through in the dark, down the tunnel, and suddenly you're in this arena, and there are like 44,000 people looking at you, and you can almost hear them breathing as a sigh. And I remember I fell in one of the programs, and I heard a collective from 45,000 people, and you're out on the ice, and all you want to do is get off. You just want to get off the rink, get off the ice, and say,
Yeah.
I'm out of here. But what really occurred to me that first time was, what am I doing out here? And I think in a way Elia had that. I think he felt blocked out. He said he blanked out.
Yeah.
And I think he just felt for the first time in his young life, what am I doing out here in this situation?
Yeah. I know. If you don't have a
I
plan.
saw it on the warm-up.
Yeah. Oh, you did? Went on the 6-minute warm-up?
Yeah. I was watching very carefully,
Mm-hmm.
and I just didn't, at Nationals too, I didn't feel it was that bravado
Yeah.
he has where he's just skating very fast and very loose and throwing in a few jumps to try. And instead, I just saw him being very cautious, very cerebral.
Yeah. Well, it's like having a child that you describe. This is going to work out for in the long run. You're going to learn from
Yes.
this. Nobody wants to hear that from their parents. I feel like, I said that to Ilya afterwards.
You did.
He will.
You wrote something wonderful too.
Yeah.
I really
Oh, thank
loved
you.
what you wrote
But
for
I
him.
mean, I truly believe he'll learn from this. And what I said to him is, you're going to just have to wait a little longer. We can geek out for hours, you and I,
Yes,
about
we can.
every aspect.
I'm sorry I
of skate.
took everything
No,
the
it's
wrong
so
direction,
good.
as
No.
usual.
No, it's good.
'Cause
It's
that's
good.
just the way my brain goes.
I could
but-
literally talk to you for another 5 hours
Yes.
about everything, but we
will off camera.
Yeah, we will off camera. But thank you so much. This has been
Brian,
so
thank
much
you
fun.
for having me. I'm not an Olympian, but I tried to be. So my closing sentence
Yes.
is that I never, ever made it. And I skated for so many years, but my clothes did. And that's my parting statement.
And your clothes did in a big way, so it's good.
I'm very proud and thankful that I was given the opportunity to give back in some
Yes.
way to skating.
Absolutely.
It's a sport that probably is the love of my life, even more than fashion.
That's amazing.
So
Wow,
I don't get to say that often, but it's the truth.
that's amazing. Well, thank you. Figure skating thanks you. Fashion thanks you. Everyone thanks you.
Thank you, Brian.
And we got to get working on that movie.
The movie,
Yeah,
you'd be
the
a good
movie,
one
the
to
figure
promote
skate.
that as a producer.
Yeah. Vera
you've
Wang
done
and
it.
Brian Boitano are going to do
Yeah.
a skating movie.
I think skating deserves it.
I do too.
Everybody sees
Yeah.
what downhill looks like. Everybody sees what the
Yeah.
pike looks like.
Yeah.
But no one understands skating.